in our desire to modernise and in our desire to strengthen the capital investment in whatever area, we recognise that we probably were taking a very conservative approach about our stockpiles and the ability for those stockpiles to be replenished. And I think what Ukraine is already demonstrating is that the rate of expenditure and then the industrial capacity to backfill is a significant issue. And in a way that might sound naive, but I think it's a strength of the manifestation, because I think there are three elements that are going. Well, there's a backdrop, and the backdrop in big terms over the last 30 or 40 years is a reduction in industrial capacity. Then you have the positive picture. Well, we're spending more in defence now, so we've got some additional investment. But actually, when you come to the Ukraine situation, we rightly have been leaning in to provide more weapons to Ukraine. Then, as you see through Ukraine, there will be a need to assist Ukraine in rearming, and the government's position that we're in this for the long term. And how can we ensure that Ukraine is even safer at the end of this and has a bright future? And then at the same time, as a corollary of Ukraine, you've seen a whole host of European countries agree to increase their own defence spending. And doesn't the UK want to be a part of that? And are there export opportunities? Now, when you put those three, backfill, rearm Ukraine, export opportunities, against the backdrop of a limited industrial capacity, and then you take the complexity of not even our most sophisticated weapons. So if you take N-Laws and Tallies and Belfast and so on, so Tallies as the prime contractor, but 15 main suppliers in order to have such an effective weapon. Then you add in, you've got all of those tensions at the back end of a pandemic and the global pressures of what that has meant. Then you add in the semiconductor issue and so on. So I'm just saying that is a very significant issue. And I think you've probably seen the debates in America, which are mirroring the same. So what do we then do about it? Well, the answer is that this has to be UK defence and the government working with those suppliers, and we're having those conversations. So there was just for example, earlier this week, the 12 of the larger defence suppliers were hosted in Number 10. Secretary of State for Defence was there, and therefore we're trying to work through those issues and how much assurance do they need from us to invest so that they can start additional production lines. How quickly can we give them those assurances? Do they want to contract, or do we also protect our position? Because is there a risk of, rather like PPE, where there were times where there was more demand than supply? So is the answer to this to buy options? Because sometimes we're not fast enough in terms of our contracting ability and competition. And then how can we support UK industry in the export market, but do it in a complementary way? Because in a perfect way, we should also be a net beneficiary of that, because sometimes some of the volume goes up and the unit price goes down, and it might mean that we can actually afford even more. And what are our timelines for all of this?